All right. Welcome back to the Believe You Are a Good Mom podcast. I have Mimi Porter with me today. I'm really excited about this. I love Mimi. Can you introduce yourself before I get carried away?
Sure. I'm Mimi. um, I'm a mom first and foremost. I have 6 children, 3 boys, 3 girls. 3 of them are married. I also have 5 grandchildren now, which blows me away.
Mhm.
And I I came from a big family, second of 7. I always wanted a big family. Being a mom was just the only thing that I ever wanted to be.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Me too. And then once I was a mom, it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So, this is what we're going to talk about today. So your kids are how old now?
They go from 29 to 14.
Okay, so 30 years ago, right?
Yep.
Was when you were
Yeah.
still living the idealistic being a mom is going to be the end all be all, right? And tell us a little bit about well, first hold on, because we're still sort of in the intro here. Like I said, I tend to get carried away. Okay, so Mimi now coaches men, which I find very interesting because coaching tends to be women saturated. Lots of women are very into coaching, but men have gotten a glimpse of how good it is, right? And Mimi's just passionate about helping families, marriages, relationships, right? Building relationships. And she loves to help men strengthen their relationship. So we'll get into that. But I want to go back in history, back when all I want to do is be a mom. And she just told me before we hit record that she married her high school sweetheart.
Yes.
And they got married, 7 weeks after he got off his mission?
Yes.
So it was like, this had been planned out from high school, right?
Yep.
You go for 2 years, come back, we'll get married, make babies, live happily ever after, right?
Yes. That's how it was supposed to go.
And is that how it went?
No, no. And in fact, we struggled with infertility for the first several years, and which only strengthened my passion about being a mom. That's, like that's all I wanted. And why was it not happening? And I had first thought that we passed our test of, passed our test of just being able to get through that 2-year separation and still want each other.
Mhm.
And then when we had the struggle of infertility, for sure, that was like, okay, we're done with our testing. We just get to move forward and live the happily ever after, and help other people have happier lives. And
So from the get-go, you were passionate about helping other people. And
yeah, I think that was just really instilled in me really young, that it was like the epitome of forget yourself and serve, which
yeah,
I think has its place, but it also has its own really high cost, which is
yeah.
a whole nother thing. I don't know if you want to get into
Yeah,
that.
well, first let's talk about this idea of a test. So if we think that the purpose of life is to be tested, and we had this big test, we had to be separated for 2 years, it was so hard, and we're like, check, pass that test, we're back together, life is just going to be rainbows and daisies now. And turns out life is not necessarily a test, and it's not pass or fail, and it's not get this right, the rest is going to be easy. So tell us what it really is all about.
Oh, it's about accepting humanness and just deciding more consciously, what are you going to do right now? Like who are you going to be right now with what's in front of you?
Yeah, because you were so in love, right? And you thought love was all you needed, right?
Yes.
And we're just going to help everyone else be so in love, and love is all they need. But turns out life is about challenge, right? And relationships are very challenging. So whether it's your marriage or your relationship with your kids, relationship with yourself, relationship, and turns out we have a relationship with everything, with time, with money, with the place we live, with our neighbors, with everything, with the weather, right? So when we really start delving into relationships and seeing how hard they are and the growth that comes from enduring that hard, then it kind of gives life a different purpose, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the ways that we make relationships harder is by thinking that they shouldn't be this hard.
Yes.
That was a big thread for us, was thinking, wait, it's not supposed to be this hard. I found a book one time with the subtitle. It was, I think it's called Sacred Marriage, but the subtitle is what got me. And it was, what if God designed marriage to make you holy rather than make you happy? And it just totally changed it for me of, oh, wait, this is like growth. This is about growth. It's not about just being happy.
Yes. Yeah. That's a really good summary of Earth life, right?
Yeah.
We think that we just are here to be happy, and we get all bent out of shape when we're not feeling happy all the time. But turns out that's not the point, right? It's a sanctification process. We're trying to become holy, not happy. Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
And what better way than to share your life with someone under the same roof day in and day out? And yes, we're so in love. We just had we're having our 10-year anniversary next week. And so I was watching our wedding video last night, and just thinking about how happy we were that day, the happiest day ever, right? And so clueless of that we're not going to be happy every day, but it is going to help us be more holy, right? In the long run. So the struggle with infertility, marriage struggles, all the things, right?
Yep.
That's the lesson learned, is that it's not about, trying to be happy all the time.
And that it doesn't mean something is wrong.
Yeah.
That's, I grew up hearing stories about, like, the ideal seemed to be if you never fight. It, I would hear people talk about, oh no, we've never had an argument. And to that, I say, then you also did not have a real relationship. Or at least, maybe back then, like our grandparents and stuff, like life was different and more simple than now. But I really do think that even all of those, people who didn't fight, they were just living surface, keep the peace, don't really know each other, don't really require much of each other. They weren't living the relationships that are available when you are actually real with each other. So much of, like, working with the men, so much of theirs is, I just need to make my wife happy. I just, so don't talk about that. She'll be upset about that. And they end up just tiptoeing and living such surface relationships that they don't ever really get to the real connection. That kind of life is an enemy to connection. And there's so much more connection.
If we have this idealistic idea that we're supposed to be happy all the time, and if we're not, then there's a problem, then that would sound like, oh, I'm not happy all the time. I need a coach to help me learn to be happy. And turns out in coaching, what we teach people is to embrace all the emotions, right?
Yeah.
And so the goal isn't to try to be happy all the time or to feel good and to do things that help you feel good, but to embrace all of it. Yeah. And just drop that resistance to the negative, quote unquote, feelings.
Yes. And thinking that it's wrong.
Of you and your spouse and your kids, right? Because as a
Yes.
mom, we think we can only label ourselves as a good mom if our kids are always happy. So that's why we think we're a terrible mom, because our kids are not happy that they have to brush their teeth and go to bed. And so they scream at us, "You're the worst mom ever." And if we believe that,
right,
then we're going to think that we're the worst mom ever, because in order to parent, we have to encourage them to do things they don't want to do sometimes. And they're not going to be happy about that. If we just were like spending all day trying to make them happy, then okay, yeah, let's have ice cream for breakfast and watch TV all day. And like, so yeah. And same with their husbands. If we're just trying to make them happy all day, or if we're trying to pretend we're happy so that they think that they're making us happy, just the whole dance. It's just, let's just drop that dance and be real with each other. I have emotions. It's okay. Like, and I
Yes.
say that to my husband. I'm like, no, I'm just feeling whatever right now. It's not about you. It's not,
Not
like,
about
it's just feelings. It's okay. And same with the kids, to hold space for all their big feelings and not make it a problem.
Yes, I so wish I had known that in my younger years as a mom. I took it all on, made it mean all kinds of stuff. Now I learned differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all you can do, right? Is whenever you pick up these ideas, that take them and run with them, and your grandkids can learn that there's nothing wrong with being or
Yes.
feeling whatever feeling they need to feel. So tell us more about this idealistic mom that you were going to be until you actually had kids. Well, first of all, your idealistic life didn't work out exactly as you thought, right? That you were just going to
Right.
get married, make babies, live happily ever after.
Yes. In fact, none of my kids came when they were supposed to,
Supposed
which
to.
is why there's 14 years from start to finish.
Mhm.
Yeah, best laid plans, we just don't have control over those kind of things. But and I think the poisonous thought right there is it's supposed to be this way,
Yeah.
or this, it wasn't supposed to happen this way.
Mm-hmm.
That's just poison for dealing with what we're given. What if we're
Yeah.
thinking that it shouldn't be like this, then we've given all of our power away. We
And we're in a tug of war with God.
Yeah.
Because what is, the
Yes.
reality in front of our face. And then when we had, our idea of what we thought would be, then we're just arguing with reality, and we're basically arguing with God. Like, he's
Yeah.
like, no, this is my plan.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I have my own plan. I early on, like at the end of high school or something, heard this Chinese proverb: if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Oh, yes.
Because I was gonna, graduate and go to BYU and go on a mission, get married, make babies, and like none of that happened. But early on, like, I mean, in high school, when I didn't even get into BYU, I was like, oh, I guess, God's laughing at me already. So okay, and became more open to different plans, right? But still today, I tug a war with him all the time. I'm like, I was gonna be a life coach someday, and he's like, how about now? And I'm like, no, someday. And how about now? So yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then tell me how that affected your parenting then. So you finally get the kids, and then you're still kind of living in this idealistic, well, life is supposed to be rainbows and daisies now. I finally have what I've wanted all these years.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I didn't realize that I didn't have was the skills that I needed. I thought that just having that be my highest priority and believing in it, the value and the importance of motherhood and families was enough. I mean, I didn't like consciously think
Right.
that. It was just an assumption that I had. I had no idea that there was that I didn't know, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you don't know
Know
what you
what you
don't
don't know.
know. Yeah. So that was a big part of me for me. I think today there's so much help available, so much information. I mean, just these podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
right? That people have access to the internet. I was before all of that.
Yeah.
We didn't have access. We just had our own growing up, like learning, okay, I don't want to do that, or okay, I do want that.
Yeah.
But
All
things,
you knew was what your parents did. And
yeah,
all of a sudden you're doing what your mom did, that for years you said, I would never do this, but it's just
exactly.
ingrained in your brain, and it's what comes naturally. And you don't have any skills or know-how of how to change your brain
Yeah.
to change what's happening. So then you're in even more resistance. Like, no, I wasn't supposed to be this kind of mom. This is what I
Yeah.
wasn't going to do. Yeah.
So I had no idea. And I didn't realize that as I heard about like self-help stuff, I had some resistance to that. I just thought I already had what I needed. I don't know. It wasn't until my husband became a bishop, actually, and um, he asked me to help him find some resources for helping other people.
Mhm.
And so then, like, I had permission to look in the self-help aisle of the bookstore, which I would never would have on my own, because that indicates that there's a problem. And no, 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 like, we have a perfect life. That
Mhm.
was like my thing.
Mhm.
And it didn't allow me to even see that there were issues that could be worked on. So when I was had permission to find for other people,
Mhm.
I found a gold mine. Oh my goodness, what? I had no idea that such help was available, and realized, oh wait, like, we could use this help. This
Mhm.
is good stuff. This is important. This So that was kind of my opening my eyes to knowing what I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. That kind of leads to the stigma, right, of mental health, which I feel is lifting a little bit, but still it's like, no, I got this. Because
Yeah.
as a parenting coach, we were like, oh no, I'm good. Like I know how to parent, whatever. And because we just don't know what we don't know, right?
Right.
And I mean, just that's one example, is like, why am I still stuck in the ruts that, like, I promise I wouldn't parent like this and I just continue to do it? Well, it's not because there's something wrong with you or you're a terrible mom. It's because of the way the brain works and the way and the traumas that you've lived through in your life and all the things, right? And so to be able to just sort of drop that perfectionist
Yeah.
mentality, that like, or like, and just embrace that, yeah, there is something wrong with you. Like, you don't have to pretend to be perfect. We all know nobody's perfect, but we all go to church and trying to keep our kids in line so that we look like a good mom. And but I gave up on that a
Yeah.
while ago, and
You
I'm a
make
mess
it
on the
so
back row, and
much.
everybody can just know we're a mess. And yeah, I am a coach, and that means I embrace that I'm a mess, and not that like I have some sort of perfection check.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that expectation. Something that you just said brought up along the line for me. I learned that shame
Mhm.
is an acronym
Ooh,
that
fun.
really, really helped me. So here's what it stands for. All of you who feel shame,
Mhm.
it stands for should, have, already, mastered, everything.
Yeah, right.
And that's really what I mean. Every time I share that, like, it makes me emotional, because that's the heavy burden that we carry so much. That expectation that we already should know. Not only should we know, but we should be good at it.
Mhm.
And that is just poison and causes us to feel a lot of shame. But if we can consider that we would never expect our children to have already mastered everything. Why are we expecting that of ourselves is so unrealistic. And putting it in that framework, I think it was really a gift for me. I've heard it a couple places. I don't even know who to attribute it to,
Mhm.
but it is gold for me.
Yeah, I love that, because the same way, I mean, who are we expects us to have this mastered? God? Like, he knows.
He knows.
He
Yeah.
knows that he gave us these babies and we have no idea what we're doing with them. Like, just as you said, we don't expect our kids to know everything. Like, we're teaching them skills to live life. Then we're a brand new mom. We have no idea what we're doing. We're acquiring skills. We're learning as we go. Who's expecting us to be perfect at this as soon as
Yeah.
that baby's
Just
handed to us?
us.
Like, yeah,
Just
it's
us.
just us. Yeah. And it's the shame that makes us want to hide and pretend and say, no, we're good. We're good, But
Mm.
hopefully we at least have some sort of friend or somebody that we can get real with, right? At a play
Mm.
date and be like, I know it's the worst, and be able to pop that shame bubble a little bit to realize that you're not alone. Like, everyone
Yeah.
is dealing with this. And when we're all hiding in our shame bubble, like, I should have mastered this already, then we lose that connection with other moms and the growth that can come
Mm.
from acknowledging, like, I have more to learn, and that there's
Yes.
absolutely nothing shameful about that.
Right. It's that
Yeah.
pretending that everything is what it's not is such a barrier between people.
Yeah. And I love how you nailed it in your own story. Sorry, my cold. Cold in the summer. It's so bad. Um, in your own story, where you just the desire to be a mom. was qualification enough to be a perfect mom, like in your
Yeah.
mind. That's what you thought. And so we carry around these stories that we have no idea. And that's what coaches do, is like,
Yeah.
wait, did you realize that you're thinking this? Does that even
Right.
make any sense when we pull it out of your brain and say it out loud? It's like, oh, of course that wouldn't qualify me as being a perfect mom. There is no perfect mom. There's a, like, I mean, even a qualified mom, you know, the desire to be a mom doesn't teach you any skills at all.
Right.
It just, you know, gets you a baby, hopefully,
Yeah.
eventually, right? Anyway. Okay, any last wisdom? That's so good. Let's just gnaw on that acronym one more time. So should have already mastered everything, right? So
Yeah.
any aspect of your life, if you're feeling shame, it's because you're expecting yourself to have already mastered this.
Already mastered it.
And that is the whole point of life, is a process of mastering. There's no point at which you've mastered anything.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
drop the war on that shame. Forget it.
It really does. It shifts everything. Yeah. Sometimes I also change the everything, to earth life. Should have already mastered earth life.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
what? Like, no, it's meant to take the lifetime.
Yeah. Well, and even moms who think because they've launched their kids, they're like, oh, I blew it or whatever, it's like, I wish I'd known these things when my kids were little. I heard so many people say that about coaching. I wish I had these tools when my kids were little. And that's why I was like, I'll be in the thick of it, mom, while my kids are little. I'll help other moms whose kids are little.
Yes.
But you didn't blow it. You're still a mom forever, like ever, eternity.
Yeah.
There's no point at which, like, you can't continue to mother your children.
Yeah. Well, a thing that I like to use with this is, I like to say we have our own lens, where that we're viewing everything through our lens that's made up of our life experiences, our values, our goals, our pains, our hurts. And when we're looking at ourselves in the past, we're expecting ourselves to have the lens that we have today. Like, I should have done things differently. I should have known something that we couldn't have known, because it took all these different experiences to do that. So it's really unfair of ourselves to expect today's lens to have existed before. And for me, that's been really helpful. That, and I change it into not I should have, but I can see that if I did have the tools that I have now, I totally would have behaved differently in that experience. But I didn't. It's a cost to my own relationship with myself to be beating myself up over that.
Exactly.
So that's
And
another aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do have the tools while my kids are little, and I still don't act the way shame says I should. Right. And so really it's just another layer to beat ourselves up with.
Yes.
Once we have the tools. So forget that. And we just all are doing the best we can at every phase with whatever length. So to just drop the shame and know that you are a good mom and you are a human, and it's all good.
Yeah. And I think that word good too is really helpful to define for each person to define for themselves. Because it's, when we don't take the time to do that, it's just like this unreachable thing. Yep. But instead of what does that mean? Like, and even like taking a given situation, what does that mean here? It's not like an actual measurement that we stand up to, but okay, here's my situation. How do I want to show up in this situation? Or here's, what already happened. What am I thinking about it now that makes it not good? We're only finding a sliver of the evidence when we're doing that. It's not like anything is good or bad when we're talking about how we're showing up in relationship.
Yeah, and it really is the black or white thinking that makes us think that way.
Yes.
It's like either we're good or we're terrible. Right. Yeah. It's like, how about there's a whole spectrum in between? But that's the very first exercise I take my clients on, is to actually write out this ridiculous list of expectations you have for yourself,
Yes.
And then we narrow it down to a couple that are really actually important enough to work on, because the
Oh,
rest, we
good.
just dropped the war on all of that. We're like, forget this list, just burn the list. You don't
Yeah.
have to like master, right, all the things on this list in order to qualify as a good mom. You just are
Yes.
good. And what do you want to work on? Like, of course, good doesn't mean perfect. And
Yeah.
so what, you know,
'Cause I think that's such an important thing, that we all have innately a desire to improve and be better. And we can see ways that we can improve, but we take that to our own detriment, that, oh, if there's something that is still yet to be improved, then I'm not good. And that's just so not true.
that's totally not true. Yeah. And to catch our brain in those lies, and just call them
Yes.
out for what they are. They're full on
Yeah.
lies. Like even the
Yeah.
black or white thinking, it's a lie. That's not
Yeah.
truth. That's
Not true.
just the way our brain likes to do it to stay efficient. But
Yeah.
all right, Mimi, this was delightful. Thank you for coming and sharing
Yeah.
with us.
Thanks.
Can you tell people where they can find you if they have a husband that wants to work with you?
Yes.
Or
Send
maybe
your
it's a man
husbands.
listening to our podcast. I don't know.
Right. And this is really my intent. So my podcasts are just super short. They're almost all less than 10 minutes, designed to just really nail something that they can take away.
Yeah,
So it's
that's good.
called In the Good Guy Corner is the podcast. And then my website is thegoodguycorner.com.
So fun.
And
Yeah. So we were
I'd love to
talking
have you.
before we hit record also how weird it is that like men identify themselves as a good guy. Easy. They're like, I'm a good guy. Why is life hard? Right. That's what you coach them on. And I coach women on, I'm a terrible mom. And it's so hard for them to believe they are a good mom. And you're in the good guys corner. Like, no problem. The guys are like, yeah, I'm good. What?
Yeah. So why is it so hard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they don't understand us, right? My husband's like, wait, what's this brain hack you're always doing? And I'm still a good mom. And he's like, well, duh. Of course you're a good mom. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, why is that so easy for you to believe? Like, I have to mantra myself into believing that I'm a good mom. Anyway, it's just interesting, the difference.
Yes, humanness. It's the
Yeah.
best. That's what we say around here a lot is, oh, the humans.
Yeah.
Right?
Love those humans. Gotta love them. Anyway. All right, Mimi, super fun. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.